In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most beneficent, may mercy, peace, and blessings of Almighty Allah be upon all of you. Welcome you all in this our lecture series program. And today we are going to talk about syntax means sentence structures. This is our lecture 17, and this topic is very important for the students of MA English, BS English, and equally crucial for the aspirants of lecturership. So this topic is from an introduction to linguistics semester 1. Let's talk about our topic, and that is syntax means sentence structure. Points under discussion in the lecture. So what are the points we are going to discuss today? It is number 1, definitions of syntax. We are going to learn what are the definitions of syntax. Generative grammar. What is generative grammar within the study of syntax? Syntactic structure. Those are morpheme, word, phrase, clause, sentence. So one by one, there is a very comprehensive and tentative explanation of these all terminologies in our topic. And at the end, we are going to learn what are the structural ambiguity in syntax. So these are some of the areas we are going to touch today in our lecture. So let's talk about number 1, that is the definition of syntax, and it is about the word syntax comes originally from the Greek, which literally means a putting together or arrangement. So syntax is actually a Greek word which means putting together or arrangement. It means to say how we are making a sentence. So again, in earlier approaches, there was an attempt to produce an accurate description of the sequence or ordering arrangement of elements in the linear structure of sentence. So this was the earlier study or approach of syntax, in which we were studying about the sequence or ordering or arrangement of a sentence. But in more recent attempts to analyze the structure, there has been a greater focus on the underlying rule system that we use to produce or generate sentence. But in recent approaches or in a recent study, syntax is actually, we are going to study about the rule system of the sentence or within language, what we are going to talk about. So this definition or these points are taken from the book The Study of Language, written by George Yu. Let's talk more about the syntax. And syntax deals with the tools available in languages for putting words together in sequences and make sentence. Thus we could say syntax is the study of sentence structure and its rules. So when we are talking about syntax, we are talking about that it is the study of sentence structure and its rules in a very simple and terse way. Again, the sentence is opposite to morpheme, being the smallest grammatical unit. So when we are talking about syntax, its opposite word or terminology in linguistics is morpheme. Morpheme is the smallest meaningful unit in a language, and when we are talking about syntax, we are studying the whole sentence, which is the largest unit in a language. Again, American linguist Leonard Bloomfield, 1887 to 1949, defines sentence as a string of words that expresses a complete thought and not included in any larger linguistic form. So when we are talking about Leonard Bloomfield, he says this is the study or a string of words that expresses a complete thought. Within a sentence, there is actually the study of words, how we are composing, how we are making a larger structures, that what Leonard Bloomfield has talked about. There is another study, we could say generative grammar within the syntax we are going to learn, and that is also called syntactic rules. So there are syntactic rules are rules for making a sentence. Likewise, syntactic rules combine words into phrases and phrases into sentences. The set of rules, a well-formed structure, is sometimes described as generative grammar. So this was all about the generative grammar. Generative grammar, in a very simple way, we could say a well-formed structure in a language, right? For example, in English, subject, verb, object. This is an arrangement how to make sentences in English language. For example, there is a sentence, and the fisherman hung the net on the fence. So this is totally grammatical sentence or a well-formed structure in English language. The fisherman hung the net on the fence. This is according to the rules of sentence. But when we're talking about the same sentence in a very different and ungrammatical way, it would be the hung fisherman fence net on the. This is totally ungrammatical and unsensible when we are talking. So this is actually the generative grammar when we are talking about a well-formed structure in a language. Like here is an example in an English language. Again, syntactic analysis. Syntactic units are grammatical items. Words, morphemes, phrases, clauses, and sentences are grammatical items, are units in a language. So here you see that when we are talking about the sentence structure, we are talking about these all terminologies. We are using these all grammatical items within it. Number one, the smallest unit in a language is morpheme, and morphemes, and then words make phrases make clauses, and clauses make the sentence or sentences, which is actually the largest unit in a language. So this is the order from the smallest structure to the longest in a language. Again, students, right now we are going to learn about these all grammatical units one by one. And number one, we are going to learn morpheme. Already in other lectures, very comprehensively and in a very detailed manner, we have learned about the morpheme. But again, in a very simpler and shorter, we are going to learn what is morpheme. Is the smallest meaningful unit in a language. So in a very simple way, this is the smallest meaningful unit in a language. For example, unkindness. This is a word actually, but it is divided into three morphemes because these three units are having individual meanings. So we could say, and thus we are saying smallest meaningful unit. These are three morphemes. Un meaning not, kind meaning soft-hearted, ness meaning added to adjectives to form nouns that refer to a quality or a condition. Here, number two, we are going to talk about, for example, words. Words combination of letters. It is very simple. Cat, boot, animal. And number three, words make phrases. A phrase is a group of words. Number one, there are some of the points in phrase, how phrases are composed of. Number one is a phrase is a group of words. Number B, it does not contain a subject and predicate combination. So it is either in a subject or a predicate. For example, what is here subject and predicate? I am going to tell you. So subject is doer of an action, and predicate parts of clause which gives information about subject. For example, Rihan writes an application. Now you see, Rihan is a subject and writes an application is a predicate. Writes an application, it is talking about the subject, or it gives information about subject. So you see, this is all about the phrase, and the phrase, it cannot convey a complete thought. So for example, Ali teaches. This is not a phrase because this is a group of words, but this is actually the combination of subject and predicate. So phrase is either in a subject or predicate. So this is not the phrase at all. But my cousin Rihan eats cakes daily. This is a phrase. This underlined phrase, these underlined words are called a phrase because it is a group of words, and it is either in a subject or predicate. This is in a subject because my cousin Rihan is a subject, and it cannot convey a complete thought. And this is what it doesn't convey a complete thought. So again, when we are talking about phrase, Ali lived near the beach. Now, near the beach is a phrase, is a group of words, and this is in a predicate. This is part of predicate, so we could say this is a phrase, and it doesn't convey a complete thought. Here, when we are talking about phrases, there are kinds of phrases. Number one, noun phrase. Noun phrase acts like a noun in a sentence, and noun plus other associated words which modifies noun or pronoun. For example, a woman in the window shouted for help. Now you see, a woman is a noun, but a woman in the window is a noun phrase. It is a noun phrase because acts like a noun in a sentence. It acts like a noun in a sentence, and it is combination noun plus other associated words which modifies noun or pronoun. Now you see, in the window, these words modify a woman, right? This complete underlined chunk is called noun phrase. Like this, a woman in the window shouted for help. Here is another example. She brought a decent black shirt. Now you see, shirt is a noun and a decent black shirt which modifies the noun, and this is a complete noun phrase here. Again, here are more examples, students. Dogs frighten me. Now, dogs is actually a noun. And when we are talking about big dogs frighten me, this big dogs is a noun phrase. Again, she ran outside to play is a pronoun, but the little girl ran outside to play. This is a noun phrase because it acts like this, a pronoun. And the girl is a noun, and other words modify the word girl. So the little girl is actually a noun phrase here. Again, another we are going to learn phrasal verb. This is another kind of phrase, consists of an action verb plus an adverb or properties, both an adverb and a preposition. For example, please sit down. Sit down is a phrasal verb. Down is an adverb and sit is a verb. So sit down is actually a phrasal verb here. Number two, come back and see us sometime. You see, come back is a phrasal verb here in this sentence. She blew out the candles of her birthday cake. So, blew out is actually a phrasal verb. Again, here are more examples. The horse suddenly broke into a gallop. You see, into is a preposition and broke is a verb. So, broke into is actually a phrasal verb. Number two, I came across a friend of yours the other day. You see, came across is a phrasal verb. Number three, the robbers were making for the frontier. You see, making for is actually a phrasal verb. Here, students, we are going to learn the larger unit or grammatical unit in a language or in syntactic analysis is clause. So, clause is a group of words. Number A. Number B, it contains a subject and predicate combination. When we were talking about phrases, those were that it is phrases either in a subject or predicate. But you see, in clause, it contains a subject and predicate combination. And number C, it conveys a complete thought by itself. So this is the simpler definition of a clause. For example, Rihan graduated last year. You see, Rihan is a subject and graduated last year is a predicate. So this combination is called a clause, and these are a group of words and they convey a complete thought. Ali doesn't save us. So this is a clause. Again, Ali will forgive all the disbelievers in the hereafter. This is another clause. Syntactic analysis, when we are talking about, so there are kinds of clauses. So there are two kinds of clauses. Number one, independent clause, and number two, dependent clause. Number one, independent clause or main clause or principal clause. So these are the other names of independent clause, as it is also called main clause or principal clause. What is an independent clause? Without or with coordinating conjunction. So a clause without or with coordinating conjunctions. And what are the coordinating conjunctions? These are fanboys. F for, A for and, N for nor, B for but, O for or, Y for yet, and S for so. So it could stand itself. Independent clauses could stand itself in meaning. Number C doesn't need any other clause for its existence. For example, you may sit. This is an independent clause because it is without any conjunction, as it is there into the definition. I believe yet. I believe yet. So this is an independent clause because it is with the coordinating conjunction, and that is yet. Again, but they are honest in their nature. This is an independent clause because it is with coordinating conjunction, and that is but. Again, Jerry wants to be the Quaker back this week, or the school will be closed on Friday. These are some of the independent clauses. Here we are going to talk about number two, and that is dependent clause or subordinating clause. What are the dependent clauses? Dependent clause with subordinating or subordination conjunction and other connectors like if, when, because, etc. Number B, it could not stand itself. It depends upon independent clause. Number C, it doesn't give complete thought. For example, you may sit whenever you may like. You see, you may sit is an independent clause, and whenever you may like is a dependent clause. Why it is a dependent clause whenever you may like? Because it is with the subordinating conjunction when or whenever. Syntactic analysis. And sentence is actually the largest grammatical unit in a language. It is combination of clauses together, as we already have talked about the clauses. So there are four types of sentences. Number one is simple sentence, one independent clause. So simple sentence is actually the single independent clause as well. For example, I bought a new home. So this is an independent clause. Number two, compound sentence. Compound sentence is actually composed of two or more independent clauses. For example, I helped him and he got happy. You see, I helped him is an independent clause. And again, and he got happy is another independent clause. So this is called a compound sentence, which is composed of two independent clauses. Number three, complex sentence. Complex sentence is composed of one independent clause plus at least one dependent clause. For example, he is wearing a shirt, which is awesome. He is wearing a shirt is actually independent clause, and which is awesome is a dependent clause. Again, number four, and that is compound complex sentence. Compound complex sentence is actually consists of one independent and at least one dependent clause. For example, although he was sick, he scored well in examinations. Although he was sick is a dependent clause, and he scored well in examinations is independent clause. So these are some of the types of sentences which we are going to learn or study in syntactic analysis or in the study of syntax. A structural ambiguity. When we are talking about syntax, we are going to learn about a structural ambiguity within this topic. A single stretch of speech or writing can have two or more than two distinct meanings. So this is very obvious that a sentence may contain various meanings within. For example, there is a sentence: the ambassador is one who lies abroad for the good of his country. Now, the sentence could have two meanings within. Number one, the ambassador is one who serves his country by living his life out of his motherland. So this could have been this meaning. Again, there could have been another meaning of this sentence, like the ambassador is one who tells lies to other country for the benefit of his own motherland. You see, this is another meaning of the same sentence, that an ambassador is one who tells lies. So this is, here we could see the ambassador is one who lies abroad for the good of his country is lexical. There is a lexical ambiguity within this structure, and the ambiguity is here with this word lies. Here could have been another example for you. For example, there is a sentence, I once shoot an elephant in my pajamas. Now, this is a very comic sentence that could have been two meanings. I once shoot an elephant in my pajamas. So, its meaning could be, I shoot an elephant while I was in my pajamas, or number two, I shoot an elephant which was in my pajamas. So these are two different meanings of the same sentence. So this ambiguity or this bewildered interpretation could have been the structural ambiguity in syntax. Thanks for attention. Thank you very much. Hopefully this could have been a very helpful lecture for all of you. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.